Okay, so we just had our lunar solar eclipse, and now we're full on in Mercury retrograde. So, how's everyone feeling? Yeah. All right. So before we move forward, I got to do my sidereal announcement. This is sidereal astrology. This is astrology that's accurately aligned with the constellations in the sky. So if you do your research, sidereal astrology versus tropical astrology, you're gonna realize like all the astrology that you've been following, the Western astrology, and all the astrologers telling you certain things, it's not aligned with the stars in the sky, and you probably didn't know that, and your astrologer doesn't even know that either. And then when they do figure it out, they won't reveal it to you because that kind of screws up their practice. But look it up and find out for yourself. Do your fact check, and you're gonna see um, sidereal astrology is astrology aligned with the stars, and that's what I practice. Okay. So yeah. So the eclipse, the solar eclipse. How did that go? I predicted that we were going to feel a sense of aloneness because all of the solar energy with the planetary influence was going to be blocked off. So I'm curious to see how that played out because a lot of people with my crew, it played out. A lot of people felt alone, abandoned, and me too. I share a little story with you. Is I have a sailboat, and I spent like 5 days on the boat at anchor, and I run off of solar power when I'm at anchor. So I don't have electricity. Well, I have electricity through solar. Um, but on the morning of the eclipse, right? It was about in the morning. Yeah, it was in the morning, 9 o'clock. I went to start my engine because my battery should be charged from the sun, the solar. And I went to start my engine, and the batteries were flat. So the I felt completely alone because I thought, oh, okay, I have an insurance policy that has towing service, and then I was like, okay, I'll just call the insurance company and they'll send the towboat over because a lot of places they have boat towing services. And little did I know where I keep my boat on Lake Champlain, they tell me, oh, we don't have there's no towboats in your area. So I felt completely alone and abandoned. I'm just like, hold on a second. I'm anchored out in a cove. The island is uninhabited. It was called Valcor Island. So I'm just like, wait, there's no one that can assist me? Like, no. So I was just like, oh shit. I feel alone. I'm like, oh, this is the solar eclipse. Okay, which is alone. And then I was just like, well, as the sun is still shining, I'm just gonna wait for it to power up my solar panels, and hopefully I can start the engine. And then I did. I started the engine, and I made it back and whatever. I dealt with it. And so yeah, and a few other people reported back to me that they felt totally isolated, abandoned, alone, hurt. So that's kind of what happened. And now we have Mercury retrogrades kicking up. I'm curious to see how that's going on because that's conjunct Mars, and we can see that it's ending over here. And then next week is going to be the lunar eclipse. So I took a look at that, and I started laughing because that lunar eclipse. That's a good thing about um, when you're doing predictive astrology, which is what we're doing. We're predicting the week ahead. So, you can jump forward as far as you want. You can even go backwards to see what happened. So I took it upon myself. I jumped ahead and I wanted to see what we're building up to. And I just started laughing. It's like, oh shit. Because when we have the lunar eclipse, it's also going to be a full moon. That's how you have the lunar eclipse because the Earth now comes in between the sun and the moon and blocks that energy. And Pluto is conjunct the moon, which means Pluto is opposing the sun, which means there's a lot of shaman power, energy, and I wrote here, it shows shadows exposed, which is what that means. So, whatever shadow work you're doing, um, so between the solar eclipse, which was last week, and now this week is happening, and then the next week, which is the lunar eclipse. So between now now and then the future, which is next week when the lunar eclipse happens, you should really be a good idea to face your shadow work because your shadows are going to come up big time. And if you're a person that does the spiritual bypass thing and all love and good, all love and light and all that stuff like that, you will get your ass kicked because it's not all about that all the time. So if your shadows were exposed during the solar eclipse or you had these feelings during the solar eclipse, it's probably going to come up again in the lunar eclipse, and it's going to be the shadow side of that. So it's going to be a good idea now when we're doing these transits to kind of look to see what's happening and use these energies to nurture your shadows and the stuff that you need to work on. Because Pluto will bring all that stuff out. Pluto Moon, Pluto Sun, like all out. All right. So now let's move through these transits because this week I'm looking right away. I can see a lot of solar energy. So it seems like since we had the solar eclipse, now the sun is kind of like gaining momentum or having like time with seems like a lot of the outer planets. So it's like harnessing some deeper energy because next week we're going to see there's going to be a lot of feminine, there's going to be a lot of Venus energy, Venus transits going on. So Venus during the lunar eclipse is going to be dealing with stuff. So my prediction is that a lot of the feminine energy is going to be, the shadow feminine energy is going to come to the surface. And depending on the strength of the work, the inner work that you do, it's either going to be called out, or it's going to be nurtured. So it just depends how you do your work, but it's definitely going to bubble to the surface, and Pluto is going to, bring it up and work with it. So yeah, so look at that, how you work with your energy, your shadows. When you call out your shadows, do you call them and nurture them? Do you get to know them, or do you surround yourself with people that reflect and actually call out your shadows? And sometimes that could be in a negative way. So that's the work that's happening now. Anyway, let's move through the transits. We're gonna see here Mercury conjunct the Mars. That was going on last week. So that was that same thing with clever use of power, protection, because it was going on in Cancer. So all of that energy is kind of winding down towards the 10th. It goes exact on the 8th, so it's winding down on the 10th. So that was like, I think last week I was talking about maybe that's an emotional use of power or just emotion with the energy, with the emotion protection, that type of stuff. So that could that was also during the solar eclipse, which is why there was a lot of emotions that was happening. And then the Venus Uranus. And then the Uranus is in Aries, ruled by Mars, but then Venus is having a sextile to that. So there's where we're gonna see this like feminine freedom coming to play, and it could be a good thing because that's like exploring that. But then there's also the Venus squares Chiron, and Venus is in Gemini, so that's exploring the two sides. So yeah, whatever that could mean, that could mean. But when Venus and Uranus come together, there could be some sexual happiness exploration kind of going on. But then it's also having this kind of square with Chiron, so there could be some sexual healing going on with the feminine type of energy. But it's a square, so there's stuff that's kind of happening because next week more Venus stuff is happening. So I think that Venus is liberating, the sexual feminine energy is liberating, but then wounds are coming up with that, or healing is coming up with that. It depends where the Chiron energy with the person is, but healing or wounds, but there's healing work with that energy happening right now. And still going on, we got the Saturn nodes going on, we got the Neptune node, North node going on. And that was the whole thing about crystallizing the dream, future, past, and Neptune is the dream of the future. So all that is just like still kind of like really the underlying kind of energy we're working on. Like that's kind of the bigger picture, and all these other things are just like waves, little waves that then we just jump on and kind of see something else, you know. Um, then we got the Chiron goes into retrograde on the goes exact on the 8th. Yeah, so there's healing stuff going on. There's deep stuff going on. It could be healing or it could be pain, wounds resurfacing for the purpose of healing. Because next week is a big Venus healing week. Here we see all the sun stuff that we were talking about. So sun opposing Saturn. And then also Sun will be opposing Pluto because that's coming into conjunction, but that's later on in the week. So Sun, Saturn opposing Saturn, Sun conjunct North Node, Sun opposing South Node. So this is this solar energy. Sun Saturn is like the wise teacher. So this is the Sun reclaiming, structure, because it got like the solar eclipse kind of knocked things out a little bit, and it does take a little bit of time to kind of just like restructure, recrystallize, and that's what the sun is doing now with this opposition. It's kind of like, whoa, it got out of whack, right? So like, actually, it's funny. Like right now, my boat, right now I'm running it plugged at a dock with the internal battery charger as well as the solar panel still running, so that it's like getting double charged. So my boat is getting double charged right now, and I'm going to see it tomorrow and see how that fares out. But that's kind of what is happening. The sun is like getting charged. Everything is getting recharged right now. Then you got a Mars trine Chiron. So, and then you got Mars square Uranus, where we had Venus sextile Uranus. So sure. So there's masculine, feminine energies of healing, and I think that's kind of what's going on. I can see it going on because it's actually going on in my life too, in my relationship. There's like healing, but the level is like more like owning like what our past was and seeing that stuff and healing it and liberating from the healing and moving forward. And that's kind of what the bigger picture is moving forward with the healing work. But it doesn't mean that you don't have wounds. That's the thing. Like we all have wounds. We all have past triggers. Like a lot of triggers is mainly what's up. So the thing is, the evolved way to work with it is if you get triggered, it's your trigger. It's not the other person. But then you can express it with the other person. Like, hey, like what happened triggered something like that happened for me before, and it's not healed. So there's an opportunity for me to heal it. So can we work? Can you be the sounding board for that? So that's like the evolved way to work, because we're not all healed up right now. Because if we were all healed up, we wouldn't be on Earth, right? We'll be like another dimension, fifth dimension, but we're not. So welcome the healing, and take it in and work with it. And if you have a partner, you work with your partner, but the partner is not the cause of the pain. The pain is unresolved, and the healing, the partner can help, play a role with the healing and take on a role for the sake of healing. So there's that going on with the masculine, and there's that going on with the feminine, and that's a good thing if you know how to work with it. If you know, like your partner is there to just be an archetype or something like that, like a symbol to work with, but your partner is not the one bringing up the pain. The pain has been triggered, and you have to deal with that stuff. So that's kind of what's moving forward, and it's more evolved work. Yeah. So the Sun Neptune situation, that it's the 10th goes exact like right at the 11th. So that's dream stuff too. So that's more like the sun just grabbing hold of what the original dream was, what the whole forward momentum dream that we've all been talking about. So it's like happening. And then sun opposed Pluto. And that's that same thing. That's that shaman power. But then we're going to see, again, moving into the eclipse, the lunar eclipse. That's a big one. All right, that's happening on the 16th. And that's like the absence of feminine power. So, and that's why Venus is going to be having a lot of stuff going on next week. So that's what I'm saying. So prepare for that. So prepare for the feminine. To be honest, like to be completely, needs 100% support because it's going to be complete. The feminine energy, whether it's working through the feminine female or the masculine working his feminine energy out, whatever that is going to be like, weak. Like maybe not weak, but just like very like seesaw, like emotional, like, and you got to support that. That's a big happening for next week. But you're building up this week for that, right? So that's what I'm just kind of like doing the predictive stuff for. All right. So that's the Sun, Pluto, and then you have your Neptune South Node. So the past again, past dreams, all those things, and Neptune is in Aquarius. Right, see right here, and it's retrograde. That's another thing I forgot to mention. Like all these, so many planets are retrograde. We're gonna go over right now. You got by this point, yeah, by the end of the week, we have Neptune retrograde. Of course, like Pluto retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Mercury retrograde right here. Mercury retrograde. I mean, shit, man. Like yeah. So this is an internal time right now because retrograde. The symbol is an RX, which is the prescription symbol. So I always say that's the cosmic influence being taken in as like a drink, like an elixir, and you have it go through your body. So that's what we're working with for the next 2 weeks, as I can see right now. So, all right. So I think that's it. Yeah, I'm out. I gotta go to my boat anyway and check my batteries, see if they're being charged up right now. All right. So sign up on the email list. Go to siderealastrologist.com, and then the window pops up. You sign on that, and you have direct access to all my stuff. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe and the notification bell, and you'll see when a new video gets uploaded. And Facebook group, Sidereal Revolution. So join up on that. And also soon, I don't know when, because I'm having summertime fun, but I'm gonna be teaching an astrology course. So you're gonna be learning this stuff with me in a webinar type setting with like maybe 5 to 10 people per class. So if you're interested in that, kind of like click all the buttons to contact me and let me know so that I can get motivated. Because right now I'm just being barefoot in the summer, sailing around and stuff like that. All right, so all right, keep in touch. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.